Welcome to Real Talks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Talks with Kelsey, Lynn Brown, Henry Draper, and me, Eric Oak. And our special guest today is Dean Val with NU Nations United Universal University. And today we're going to be talking about NU Communicators. Take it away, Val.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me here, Kelsey and Eric and Henry. A long time ago, it was probably 10 years ago, my friend and I were having a garage sale. It was on the street in front of the house I owned, and we had people come by. We advertised it in the newspaper, and we had people come by, stroll by, and come visit and buy things. And one of the things we had like a table out there, and then we had these boxes that were kind of low with items on there for sale. And so what happened was this Chinese lady came along with her little poodle, and we had two cats there, and their names were Star and Starboy. Are we on?
Yeah, we're good. We're live. I'm getting on YouTube to see if we get any comments.
So we own two cats. Their names were Star and Starboy, and they were Burmese. They're very affectionate, very intelligent. They're black and white, and they were out there a sunny day and probably summer, enjoying around and watching everything. And then this Chinese lady came with her little white poodle, and suddenly, these two cats of ours, they jumped over the boxes like two dolphins, and they confronted the dog. And it was simultaneously. There was like, you see dolphins jumping out of the ocean, the water. It was simultaneously. From both sides, they confronted this dog who was walking by on the sidewalk. So what was going on there? They somehow communicated with each other because it was perfect timing. And they're from the same litter. They've grown up together, and we got them together. So what's going on there with the communication? Very interesting. The communication that we have with each other is language-based. That the animals are more sensory-based. They're more visually based, the way they communicate with each other. And what we're doing now, we're looking at even a grander scale. We're looking at how life communicates with us, because that's even more, that includes even more things. But it's interesting to look at these animals, how we as humans communicate with them. And I look at the indigenous cultures and how they regarded the animals and how they regarded nature and the environment. And they're very, very much in touch with and communicated with, in their own way, the environment that supported them, and as well as the animals that they had a very close relationship with, because they would have real side experiences or dreams about the animals. And a lot of times the Native Americans would consider the animals come to them and guide them or show them or teach them in the form of whatever form they took, the bear, the wolf, tiger, leopard. So these are very important to them. So the bigger picture is that life is communicating through the animals and through us, through each of us, to help us become more aware. So this is it got me thinking about this whole thing. And one of our friends, Twain the Great Writer, says, he says, in creation, in the worlds of creation here, matter, energy, space, and time, that we make the sense of things the best we can. But in regards to how we communicate or we see the life as a whole, no, that doesn't make sense. Because life is so big, it's greater than what we can even consider or have ideas about. So that's a very special process. We may get into that, we may not, but we'll see where the conversation goes. Okay, back to the animals. So again, the humans think in terms of language thinking. We use words, and then we have these images. That animals, generally speaking, are sensory-based thinkers, or the way they see things. So first they see things, or they feel things, or they smell things. Like take a dog coming up to a tree and sniffing the tree. I mean, think of all the things that all the information he's gathering just from his sense of smell. People or animals that have been around the tree, how long ago, what he can even mock up these images for himself from what happened through his sense of smell. So again, the animals are more visually oriented, and people are more language oriented. Now, what happens here with the animals is that they're more detail oriented. They're more specific in terms of, like, because they're sensory oriented, they pick up specifics more, details. So, and then they make it into they expand upon it. Whereas the humans, through their words, I mean, I say, like, garage. I mean, you think of a garage, you know, whatever your if I say garage, you have a mental image of your own with that image, and it's more of a, you don't see the door of the garage. You didn't probably see the windows or the car parked in front, but you just saw the garage. Whereas an animal would pick out specifics. He would, you know, through his sense of smell, like the tree, he'd go and specifically choose something and then expand upon it. So it's different the way they communicate. I was looking at some of the people that are so-called animal communicators. This one lady I found, Temple Grandin. She's, by the way, autistic as well. And autistic people too, they're more visual. They have, some of them don't have the language skills, especially if there's Asperger's type, which is low grade autism. They have a different view or processing sort of way of processing information. So I was looking at her, and she's very interesting. She grew up on a cattle ranch, and she was worked with horses a lot too. So she learned how to communicate with them because she was so visual that she saw how they were, they're also very visual, the animals, like the cattle and horses. So she learned how to read them, basically, and work with them. And she used it in a practical way. She's also an inventor, so she invented a more humane way of, like, bringing him to slaughterhouse, or how to approach this whole thing about how to slaughter them and you know, for meat and all that. So I think they said 80% of the way they're doing it these days is because of her inventions. You know? Although we know what's going on too. There's a lot of ghastly things too. But anyway, she's been able to communicate with the animals through her vision, you know, through a visual and sense. She calls it thinking, but that it's a way of seeing things. So we too can see things that are, you know, in our dreams, say. And I'll let, like, Henry and Kelsey and Erick talk about this more, but that's another way of seeing things and gathering information, if you want to go there, you guys. But there's different ways of picking up information and utilizing it for us to become more aware. So I just started with animals. I thought that was interesting. And there's a lot of different other people that work with interspecies, like even plants and stuff, and communicating with even aliens and different things out there. So each has their own method of processing information and seeing things and communicating back. So I just thought I'd start the conversation here, and if anybody has something to say, go for it.
So kind of like how my cat here, I know when he's hungry or tired or wants pets or things like that. It's not really like through language, it's more like through subtle impressions that he's giving off, or body language and things like that. It's kind of like what you're referring to, right? Yeah, yeah.
Right. They use your body. They use your body. Yeah, and they'll send you, the people that do communicate with them. They usually can still themselves and pick up the images that the animal actually sends to the owner or to people. Just able to intuitively and pick it up, look at the body language, and it's like your own way, whatever way you do it. But some people are more sensitive than others to pick this up. And usually domestic animals have more of a domesticated view of things, whereas wild animals are, let's say, they have a different approach, a little bit different approach. So that too is in consideration. The domesticated and wild animals have a little bit different way of presenting themselves in their communication. Do you have any pets, Henry, or experiences with animals?
I was going to say that humans kind of can communicate like these animals, like you said, especially the indigenous peoples. I know you're familiar with Tom Brown Jr. and his stories of grandfather and the amazing tracking skills they had, where it's like what you're saying about the animals. They could see the tracks of an animal and see like 4,100 different imprints in a track, and they could see what had taken place like everywhere they went, whether it was on dirt or sand or leaves or any terrain. They could see what animals had been there, how long it had been, and what they had been thinking or had in their stomach at the time and things like that. So I think humans, we can do it, but I guess we've been drawn ourselves so far away from the natural environment that the wild animals especially still live in. So.
Yeah, we've been civilized, and that takes us away from nature and that communication we've had as in the past as indigenous peoples ourselves. So yeah, in a way it's a shame because we lost this ability, because we have it innately. Everybody has it, and it could be used for a benefit. And people are just indoctrinated and conditioned to just go with the technology, and they don't see the value in this. But there's just so much in health wise or in information wise. There's other life levels that the animals and other species have to teach us about, because they have access to that in their own way. So there's a lot of education that we could gather from them too. And then back to the life itself, there's a process too there that we've just now coming into in our mankind's evolution. This is a huge idea, but it's like now civilization is ready to see and to recognize this life as a whole. And that's something that is difficult to explain, because it's for each one of us to have a recognition of it in our own way. And it's partly intuitive, it's partly seeing how the process works, because there is a way. Personally, I use I say to myself, I use the word allow, I mean, in the past, people have used enlightenment or different things like that, salvation, whatever. I'm particularly fond of allow right now. Allow it to come in, to for me to recognize it. And each person can use whatever they like, but this is one way we can see like a bigger picture of what's going on in the world and within ourselves. So we're allowing it to for us to see it. So we have to get past ourselves to be able to see it, and that's what's neat about animals. They don't have this sensor. They have a more purity about themselves, so they can pick this up easier. They don't have the self-consciousness aspect that we do, so they can see a lot more than we can. So that's why we have a lot to learn from them too.
And Val, do you think you could give an example of some of the communication that you receive or see from life as you allow it to come through and present itself to you?
Well, I use particularly. I know you kids have a lot of real side experiences. For those who don't, there's dreams and there's real side experiences, and we prefer real side experiences because that includes everything, the whole of life. But I'm more of an impressionist, or I get impressions when I wake up. I may go to bed, and with that thought that I'm allowing it to come in, and then in the morning I wake up and I there's usually a thought or something that's in the forefront of my attention, and I go with it during the day, or I study it, or I research it, or I further develop that. And I've learned how to, I'm not sure if trust is the right word, but I've learned how to go with it, and take the risk, and even if it's odd, it may seem odd or scary or something, I go with it, because it's been I mean, life is about adventure, and I like that part of life, and so I'll take the chance and go with it. So a specific example, well, right now I'm not sure. I'm thinking of what it's just more like things that I'm working with the college right now. Orange Coast College here, we're doing a litigation with them for a certain issue that we've had. So a lot of my experiences are around that, and it helps to give me confidence and to see what maybe the next step is in terms of where to go with that. And so I don't have a specific I can recall right now, but that's generally the idea. And it's just based on like taking a risk. I'm not going to say trust, but I'm going to take the risk in terms of like, okay, you see something, your life gives you something, or shows you something, and then you work with it, or you develop it, because it's not a mental thing with me. It's more of an awareness thing. It's more of an intuitive awareness thing. And so I can see through the levels, life levels, and pick it up and utilize it, and then go with that and become more aware with it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you're paying attention to your intuitiveness. That's cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. One thing that I mentioned before the show, this Russian lady that I was talking to the other night, part of what I was discussing, that she's aware of the things going on in the world, and and she mentioned on her own, I didn't mention this, but she mentioned the now, being in the now, which we talk about the nowness of life. Everything is now. We're not fast forward. We're not, we're not, I mean, everything is now. It's already complete. So she was talking about how her technique is to just look at the desk in front of her, look at the lamp over there, look at the sky. Just she's not thinking about what she has to do or what had happened 5 minutes ago, but she's just present, and the way she does it is just using physical objects and to put attention on it one by one, and then take some time with being with that object, and that's how she keeps herself in the now, which is part of the intuition is like right before this nowness. It's like we have the physical body, the emotional body, the memory body, the mental body, and the subconscious, intuitive body. And then the intuitive body is just before the last to go, before it's just the nowness, just recognizing the nowness. So anyway, that's her technique. Everybody has their own way of doing things to become more aware, and that's really why we're here, is become more aware. Kelsey, do you have anything to share with this? I know you love animals and you love become more aware.
Yeah, we see the dolphins out there in the ocean a lot, and they come and swim near us because they know what we're doing, that we support the all-natural environment. And sometimes they come out just to show the humans, like, hey, we're here. Are you paying attention? We're not just cute animals that you video and put on Facebook. Like, we're like trying to breathe the air when we come up, and it's, we're swimming in this ocean. This is our environment. So they see what we're doing, and that's like a communication that we have with the animals and life itself. And yeah, what did you want to say, Val?
There's one of the animal communicators I was listening to. She talks about the animals and the destruction of the environment and the situation we're in here on Earth. And they too are, this is from her, they too see it as, well, if it doesn't affect me, it's okay. But when it does affect them, then they have a real concern. And this is somewhat like the humans, if it doesn't affect me, then, well, just keep going to my 9-to-5 job or whatever. But it's not all the way around that all animals are like that, but that she saw a lot of them were like that too, that if it doesn't affect them, then, they just keep on going. But, and then there's the fairies and the elves and the little people, and they maybe see it more, that that things are going, things are being destroyed in the environment, and they're too, like, in their position, it's sometimes hard for them to do, especially the animals too. Like, what can they do with their bodies and what their abilities are? We're the ones that can do more. They can do certain things, but on the real side, maybe and help the humans. But we're the ones here that have the ability to really take it and make some kind of impression and help people wake up so that they have can make better choices.
Yeah, I see some. I mean, I clearly see some of the animals that they really do care about the natural environment. And some of them do try to do something about it, like even with their limited body forms. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen some of the videos that have been shared around, like birds picking up litter and like throwing it in trash cans and things like that, like along the beach and like in cities and things like that. Like, and the humans are around with their cell phones, like, look at this goofy bird picking up the trash. It's like, no, what are you talking about? Like, they really do care, you know.
That's after they lick the wrapper, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, they see it. I mean, geez, you have the seagulls on the beach here, and they're all into the. In a way, it's unfortunate because they're eating the GMO foods here that the people leave out, but they become indoctrinated in their own way, by having to live with us. So there's certainly a better way to do this. That's why we're here, to help people wake up. And first, to give people the knowledge and information, and then they can make better choices from it. Because people don't know where to go, really. A lot of people don't know where to go. But we're here as to provide information and to provide more, better options. And we really have the real cure. I'm not being arrogant, but we really do have the real cure for what's going on. Because awareness supersedes everything. It's more than the knowledge. It's just becoming more aware, and that's what keeps me going. Like Henry, you asked me what more specifics. Well, that's if I can put it one way, it's becoming more aware. Is this specifically? Maybe it's not categorized as anything, but just becoming more aware every day keeps me going, and it provides more options. As you become more aware, you have more of a base to work from, to make better choices and decisions. So it's not the knowledge. Knowledge sets you up for to become more aware. It's not the knowledge, but it's more the awareness, and that's really the key here.
Yeah, thanks. One thing I do notice with the animals here, they can communicate with us just by providing an example, because they're always supporting that which supports them in terms of the natural environment. They're not polluting or destroying the environment they live in like we are, like humans are. And like you said, once we can support all of life, just at physical level, you just become more aware every moment as you recognize what life is showing you. There's always something, there's always more. So, yeah, recognizing the communication that animals are showing us just by their example, or listening to the birds, and just how pure and without any attitude, their communication is. It's a good place to start, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned support. That's key too. Is supporting each other in this life. We're all in this life together, so it makes sense to support each other. And the animals do it in their own way. They support their families and their own species in their own way. And sometimes species have, there's, of course, nature is what it is. It's about survival. So animals eat each other, but it's part of the process of evolution and waking up. It's part of the what we all go through. We're at some point we're animals, we're plants, we're minerals, we're people. We're human beings. We can take on different viewpoints. This gets into reincarnation, but it's very real. It's like we've been here before, and we can take on these viewpoints just to gather experience and to see more of life, because we can't just do it with one embodiment. So we have chances to see more of a bigger viewpoint. And from that, we can get even to the point where we are now in this time and an era to see even more of life. We really have an opportunity here to see what we call the real universes, and that's very special because it's where all this time we've been here in the creation worlds, which is the matter, energy, space, and time worlds. We have a chance to go further and be in the now and recognize what's going on right now, and choose a position with that. So, see what else I have here. Took some notes. I've been looking at different. The animals are very interesting because some are just sensitive. They're very, very sensitive to certain sensual like sounds. They can hear more than we can. So they're tuned into more of the basically the physical, and then it goes on, and they can see more into the real side too. So there are teachers in a way, like the indigenous people have them as teachers, and we can learn from them that way. Yeah, maybe somebody else has. That's about it for me, really. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, so like one of the ways to become more aware is to like notice what nature and life is like demonstrating to you, like what the animals are demonstrating. I know I've seen this in my physical life. Like if I'm kind of like questioning if I'm like making the right decision sometimes, a blue jay will come into my line of sight and perch on a tree near me. And that's like an animal I've been connected with for a lot of my life. It'll just perch, and then I'll look at it, notice it, it'll look at me, and then it'll fly away. I'm like, all right, I'm on the right track. All right. Then, yeah, I mean, that happens sometimes. Or just like how animals are, just like very focused on surviving and in the moment, in the present moment, just the next thing to do, the next thing to do. Like I think I remember reading once, like what is it, when a cat doesn't really question that it's a cat, it just is a cat, you know what I mean? Or like the bird doesn't really question how to fly, it just flies, it just does it. Yeah, you know, it's pretty cool. Or like like when you're looking at trees, or I like looking at trees and like just being under them sometimes, because if you like still yourself, you can just kind of like feel like the strength coming from that tree, like the sturdiness. I don't know. That's just me, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I did the Tom Brown tracker school too, like with Henry did too, and you know, Tom was out in the wilderness for a year. He had his year-long trek where he just went out naked, I think maybe with a knife or not even that, and just survived for a year and traveled and wandered. And he was able to, like, with his diet too, my understanding is pretty healthy, and even the animals came to him. There's one point where the animals even were coming up to him because they could tune in that he was you know, with them. He was living like a primitive, like an animal, basically. You know, he shed everything from civilization, and he just went out there and had his experience as nature boy. And you know, I imagine it was a great experience for him. He learned a lot. He honed his skills, living with, you know, without nothing, and creating his own tools and clothing and all that. And I know when I was out there for 5 months on the hike, I hiked from Mexico to Canada with my son, and that was, I had a backpack. I know Tom talks about that too. It's like, what if you lost your backpack? Well, that would be an issue, but I wasn't at that level where I could go without the supplies on my back. But it was still a journey of getting away from the indoctrination that we have here, and it's so, in a way it's subtle, and in a way it's obvious because it's right in front of your eyes. The earth is being destroyed, but it's subtle in that people don't notice it. You know, they take it as a standard. That in that way they don't notice it because it's a standard now. Well, it's just a byproduct of technology and our progress. But how can there be progress if we're killing and we're poisoning the water and the food and the air that we survive on? So that's not progress. But we're taught that there's, you know, things are getting better, but look at the world. It's just it's a mess, and we're trying to do something here with it, do something of a benefit so that people can wake up and maybe make a little bit of an impression here with and have more and more people wake up, the more people can do something and show others. And when people say, well, what can I do? Well, you can become more aware, because that really makes a difference. But yeah, the 5 months I was out there, it's like, you know, it's just walk, eat, and sleep, basically, and then you don't have the bills to worry about. You don't have all the things that people usually worry about. So it's a time of reflection and seeing what really is going on. And well, one thing I saw was that in the Sierra Nevadas, we couldn't even drink the water up there. Pristine water, you know, snow melt, and the creeks and the rivers and stuff, but the water was still contaminated. People were getting giardia. So that's an example of even there, probably from the chemtrails or the pollution. Even there, the water had to be filtered. So the world ain't like it used to be here, even 100 years ago. So what are those funny glasses you're wearing?
These are blue light blockers. So they block the blue light technology from the computer screens and LCD and phones and fluorescent light bulbs, unnatural lighting.
Yeah. Clean. We could have clean technology, but people were marketed to use the dirty energy and electricity and all that. So we have a lot to do here, folks.
Yeah, I think a good comparison is, like you said with Tom Brown, how he could survive in nature and just work with it as it supported him. And, you know, when he came back into human civilization, he found it super hard to relate to how people just didn't really care about the environment, and they were polluting it, and they didn't respect it, and they weren't grateful for it. And that's the same comparison we can make to the animals who are grateful and they do support their environment, and the comparison to what makes sense and what doesn't. And that's really cool, because that's what we're here to do, you know, compare what makes sense to what doesn't, and, you know, a comparison of what is real and what isn't real, so that we can wake up to the real universe, as you mentioned earlier, and, you know, what we really are, which is a free being of real light that doesn't need any restrictions and things. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just these comparisons and the communication that we can receive from the animals and nature, like trees, like Erick said, you go and hug a tree and, you know, just really just, you know, close your eyes and, you know, this tree will be communicating with you. And, you know, had a lot of experiences and where it has been for, X amount of years. And yeah.
Now you mentioned, before you mentioned, I think off the show, that you mentioned Tom Brown and levitating or some special abilities that he was teaching. I didn't get that. I was only there for a week. I just took the standard course, and I've taken some workshops and things like that, but I didn't get into that. Maybe the more of the other life levels. I mean, I know he talks about, or grandfather talks about. I mean, grandfather had certain abilities. He could see when the trap was been kicked. The rabbit had been caught in the trap, and he could see that from far away, miles away. So he had certain abilities. Maybe you could see into the other life levels. But did you get any kind of training like that with him, or?
Yeah, I did the standard class and the philosophy one. We did a lot of. He didn't like the word meditation. He called meditation spiritual masturbation. But we did something like meditation, and we did these little exercises where he called it, I can't remember what he called it, but it's kind of like going out of body and, like seeing, what was in front of a track that we hadn't been down yet. And that was pretty cool. But yeah, he did talk about in future philosophy classes where, he would teach people to move objects with their mind and see into the future. And I met one student who had done these classes, and he said it was too real and a bit scary for him, seeing into the future and, just like getting into that, I guess, that body that he had never really kind of accessed before here in this lifetime. So yeah, the indigenous people who really did what made sense here on this earth, they could see a lot more past this earth too.
Yeah, I didn't take the philosophy course, but yeah, I know he hinted at that sort of thing, and I know the tracking was very deep. You could say you could read a lot, get a lot of information from a track. I think the Apaches had like over 4,000 or 5,000 indicators in the track, like ridges and different indentations and things like that within the track that meant something. So that's like part of that's like paying attention. That's what I really admire the Native Americans of old. Now they're moving away from what they used to be, the awareness that they used to be. But of old, they really paid attention to what was going on, because they understood survival, and they could read the landscape. They could read the weather. The Sioux Indians could forecast weather for like I think it was like 4 or 5 days in advance by looking at the clouds. Those were true clouds in the past, and now we have HARP and chemtrails. But see, we're offering people the opportunity to wake up to something a lot more wonderful, really, and pure it could be. We're not advocating going back to a primitive state, because we have all this technology too that we can utilize. But they had an awareness that the people right now just don't have that kind of. They've forgotten it. They've forgotten how wonderful it could be. Just living where we are here in the earth and utilizing what we have. And then just basically that's what we're utilizing the physical body to see more into the real universes. And it's a process. It's maybe you guys can share too, like how you become more aware, the process that you understand it to be, to recognize we'll call it this life, the whole of life, and what do you do to become more aware, basically. Again, I use certain things that come to me that if it feels good, I'll utilize it for and a way to, it's usually something that comes to me in the form of a feeling or a thought, and then I take action on it. That's basically my process. And then from that, it's usually something risky, which I enjoy, something of an adventure. And from that, I become more aware, and then it leads me to something else. It's always a choice, a decision I make, a conscious choice and decision to move on, to become more aware. It's from something life has given me, and then it adds on. There's more and more it gives me, and I can see more and more, and then I make the choice basically, but I have more options, and it becomes quite an adventure. So can somebody else share how their process works? If I'm using the right way, asking that. Like Erick, how do you become more aware? How do you do it?
I try to stay open to like all of myself, like all the different parts of my beings is happening with, like my mind, my emotions, especially my intuition, because I've always been kind of lucky to be able to differentiate between the different emotions I'm feeling. If an impression's coming just from my mind, or if it's coming from like my intuition, because it presents itself differently for me. So like if I'm like having an intuitive thought, there's like no emotional tone to it. It's just like matter of fact, and a lot of the time it can be like nagging. It's like, man, but not really nagging, more like just matter of fact. But one of the things I've learned is recognizing what isn't real, and then comparing it to what I can recognize that is real. Like, I guess like false ideas that people hold on to. For example, like about themselves, if they have like low self-esteem or something. I mean, is that really, is that really how it is? Or are you just holding on to that idea? You know what I mean? And then also staying open to my real side experiences that I have when I put this body to sleep, and seeing what's demonstrated to me, and trying to take in all of the impressions that I'm getting, like all the little details of the experience, because they can all have like a different impression that I receive from them. Like, say if I see somebody, like I'll use an example. I saw someone I know walking a dog in one of the experiences I had a couple weeks ago, and I would just try to see what that like dog represented, why that person was in my experience, whether like that person was supposed to be a reflection of an idea that I'm agreeing to, or if it's actually in regards to that actual person that I know here in the physical. And it becomes clear because it's just like kind of like a knowing, like, oh, that relates to me more than it relates to that person per se. Or like if I'm like driving a vehicle on the real side, like you guys have said, vehicles can be like personal consciousness here, like the physical vehicles that, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun to try to figure it out. And always being open to it, because it's a choice that you make to always be open to it every moment, because it's very easy to just fall back into old habits and mindsets and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I have fun doing it.
You explained that well. Thank you. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, one way I go about it is similar to Erick. Really, I'm just keeping open to whatever life shows me, and then I'll just act upon what I can see and what life is showing me now, and just make sense, doing things that are going to help me become more aware and support life, and as it supports me. I especially enjoy like my real side experiences while my physical body is asleep. And, I see cool things all the time, like, real guides, guiding me and going on adventures and, meeting, some of my friends here in the physical. And I just try to pay attention to the impressions I get when I wake up, like you said, Val. The whole experience can be one thing, but, I try to see past the experience itself to see what life is showing me by giving me this experience. And yeah, I another thing, like Erick said, is making comparisons, so when I'm talking to other people, I can really see what they're seeing from their experience, and I can compare it to what I see from mine. And it's a good comparative view to become more aware, because it kind of shows me, it's like what's the word? Like justifying, or like a confirmation that I'm seeing more all the time. Because if I talk to somebody, say today, and then in a month's time I talk to them again, it's like a whole nother comparison, because I've become more aware in that month compared to them who hasn't really been open to see more from life and what it's showing them. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of different things to do to become more aware, and ways to go about it. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, and it's good to hear other people's experiences, because then sometimes you don't have to go through them if you can get the gist of it. With the experience and what the so-called what life is showing you. So, young lady with the glasses, do you have anything?
Hello, my name is Kelsey. Yeah, I just listen, and I tend to be quiet so I can hear what I'm not hearing. And I pay attention to the real side experiences, and I see what I can see here, and just try to be real and now about it as much as I can with whatever it is I'm experiencing in the different bodies, and kind of like move my bodies around and try and like see from other people's view as well, especially those that are more aware, like the real guides. See what their views are and what they're seeing and how real they are.
Yeah, it's a great exercise to see it from another person's view, see what they would be seeing, or from an animal's viewpoint, see what they're seeing. Say a dog is like, he's seeing it from down 3 feet or 2 feet. He's seeing life, the world, whole different view than we are, standing upright. And same with we talked about the real guides. See what they would be seeing. These beings that are helping mankind wake up. How do they see things? It's a good exercise. You see how the earth sees things. So it's a big project, and we're all becoming more aware. Those of us who want to take on the adventure. So anybody that wants to do this has the opportunity now, because it's not always going to be here. So I don't know if you want to wind this up, or.
Sure.
Okay.
Erick's the host here.
Okay.
Yeah. What's up?
Do we want to wind it up, or do we have some more, or what?
We can do whatever. I mean, yeah. I like trying to see what I can see from other people's viewpoints, which is why I really like when everyone shares what their experiences, like in all the groups that we have, or like what you just said, Kelsey. I just got a lot from that. What you said, Henry and Val. It's cool.
Yeah, there's so much more that we don't know.
Oh yeah.
I think we know. We see things, but there's so much more that we don't know. Because life is so big. Look, life has been around. We use the sun as an example sometimes, but see what the sun is seen, and it just shines and is. what it is. And we're here as a view in the creation worlds, gathering views, and that's just what it is, different views. But the whole of life is so much more, and we can, in a sense, become it. We can become what it is because we're part of it, you know, with our view, or particular view. But the more we let go of the personal self and the personal embodiments we've had, the more we can be what it is and see more. So it's interesting the way it works.
Seeing and being.
Mhm.
Seeing and being.
Yeah. Nowness, isness, and here-ness. I heard it described once. They're each the same, but there's subtle differences. Nowness, here-ness, and isness. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's endless. It's an endless adventure. Just becoming more aware, you know, seeing.
Yeah, apparently you can stop anywhere, or else you can keep going, and that's the real guides keep going with it. That you can stop at some nice heaven or place in life, or in the real universes, which is beyond places in life. It's a recognition. You can keep going with it, become more and more aware. Places are just that. They're just, most people think of heaven or life is going to a better place. But these are just areas of, just like here is a place in life, Earth. So the recognition is more that, more. It's just, it's a view. Your view is recognizing something, and that's endless. It'll be going on and on.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Val and Eric and Kelsey. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah, it's endless. It's endless. It's cool. Yeah, well, everything else here is pretty dead end, but you know, life is endless. So fun recognizing that.
Yes, everything here is all right. It's all fine. It's all part of the process. You know. Is that it for today, guys?
Yeah, we can wrap it up. We've kept the animal communication up for a while here. It took us about 2.5 hours, everybody watching, to get this video to you. Send your contributions and donations to the New Presentation Foundation, so we can do benefit concerts for the children and the animals in the natural environment, and you can hear people like Dean Bell talk.
And you can learn to become more aware. Sing the NUUU. Meet the real guides. Let life show you. Learn to see your real awareness and all the other little parts of yourself in creation. And honestly, it'll all just help you with being here in this place right now. Learning to make better choices. Becoming self-sufficient.
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah.
An adventure like no other.
Yes. Wonderful.
So we're doing this all over Facebook. We're doing Facebook, YouTube, Blog Talk Radio. We have our website. We created a YouTube channel, which is Real Talks. So it's realtalks.strikingly.com. And on my YouTube channel, which you're all possibly watching this on right now, which is Kelsey Lynn Brown. And that's Lynn with an E, 3 words, Kelsey Lynn Brown. We've done about 4 videos that have been uploaded and 2 more recently. Henry, Erick, and I about hydrogen peroxide and different just different videos and broadcasts like this, and the 4 of us have done live videos as well. I have a playlist from a couple months back, and we'll keep doing this, and it's endless, and we'll have a lot more fun, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.